The Strand Titan build that I keep coming back to day after day, and I find to be the best melee build in most of, if not all of Destiny 2, is my variation of Strand Melee. And this build is all about high survivability with damage resistance, fast healing, and up-close personal melee damage. An honorable mention to Arc Thunderclap melee as well as Solar with throwing hammers, but this build in most scenarios, unless you're doing like 50 under high level content, you are going to be literally invincible and one-shotting pretty much every enemy in the game, and even able to do high levels of super damage and melee damage on bosses. Put some solo master and grandmaster content in the background so you don't have to watch me just scroll through my inventory. Let's get into the build. And the nice thing about my builds is I'm going to show you a bunch of great weapon options so you can have something that works really well even if you don't have the best options. And in the Berserker subclass, we are using Blade Fury. This is just a very strong super that suspends as well as doing some insane damage to bosses or just clearing rooms of adds. And I am running Towering Barricade. We're barely ever using our Barricade just because we are so mobile and running around meleeing everything. So I use Towering just in case I do need extra cover, if I need to dip out of there and gain some health back. Frenzied Blade for the melee is really our biggest source of damage here, and you can get some insane numbers when we pair everything together. And we use grapple for this build, as the grapple melee actually does count as melee damage. So it's just another way to do melee damage even when you don't have your melee charged, even though you'll have it charged all the time. The two main aspects that are pulling everything together, first of all, Banner of War. Banner of War, every time you get a melee kill, and then weapon kills after that, it's going to stack up to 4 times, giving you insane healing for you and anyone in the circle around you. And it's also going to give you extra melee damage and sword damage, so you're just going to have even more damage and survivability. And the other one that we're pairing this with is Into the Fray. So every time you destroy a tangle or cast your super, you're getting Woven Mail. And while you have Woven Mail, this is the big part, your melee regeneration rate is increased. So with this build, you're going to have constant Woven Mail, and you're basically going to have full uptime on survivability and just another way to get melee energy. You'll basically always have your Frenzied Blade available. For the Fragments, Thread of Fury is going to help you gain more melee energy every time you destroy a tangle or damage an enemy with a tangle, and we're throwing these things like every 5 seconds, so they do a bunch of damage, and you're just going to have additional melee energy and Woven Mail from those tangles. And the next one is Thread of Warding. Every time you pick up an Orb of Power, you gain Woven Mail, so you're just going to have constant uptime because you'll be generating a ton of orbs with this build as well. Thread of Propagation is the third one, and this is great for your primary Strand weapon, as you'll just have additional ways to do unraveling rounds every time you get a powered melee final blow, which you'll always have. So you basically have constant unraveling rounds, and we'll have other ways to get other damage sources from your weapons as well. And finally, Thread of Continuity, Suspend, Unravel, and Sever, which we're going to be using Unravel and Sever mostly. They will be increased duration on every enemy that you shoot. The two main armor pieces that you will go between in this build is either Synthoceps or Wormgod Caress. I mainly use Synthoceps for the most part because it does buff your melee damage and your super damage, which is great for bosses as well. But Wormgod, if you can continuously kill adds and keep the charge up on your melee kills, you're going to have even more damage than Synthoceps can give you. So depending on what content you're doing, if you're doing lower level content with a bunch of adds, Wormgod is going to make it so you just one-shot everything, and Syntho will basically do the same thing, but it's just a little bit more consistent. You don't have to keep kills up, it's kind of always active. But either one of those, you're going to be completely set on just additional melee damage. Before we get into the weapons, for the artifacts, we're running Tablet of Ruin, and the first one we're using there is Elemental Siphon. Kills with weapons that match your super or a kinetic weapon are going to create an elemental pickup that matches your super. So this will create even more tangles, and once you use those tangles, you're going to be getting extra super energy. Next, Unraveling Orb. So every time you pick up an orb, we're already getting things like Woven Mail or a tangle, and now we're also beginning another way of unraveling rounds. Next, Horde Shuttle. Damaging unraveled targets with a weapon occasionally spawns a threadling. So once you're actually shooting those enemies who are unraveled, you're going to spawn threadlings, and those threadlings are also going to sever the target. So you're having really all three main strand debuffs activating just from shooting the enemies. You don't have to use any type of weapon perks. Next, Vile Weave. Hitting targets with your tangles, they get severed. Reduce tangle cooldown when picking it up. So you're going to be able to throw more tangles and just continue to sever them even more. Gold from lead is another option that I like to run just because you can have another way to gain more heavy ammo if you are using a sword or something that you want to use more than some of our options will show in a bit. Limit Break, casting your super while you're critically wounded, or have an elemental buff matching your super, which you are going to always have with Woven Mail and things like that. You're going to get increased super damage. It's really just free super damage, so you can't go wrong. Lastly, to Shreds. Dealing sustained damage to a severed target unravels them, which you're going to be doing. You'll be going back and forth, unraveling and severing everything, and once you defeat a severed target, it will give you a bunch of strand energy and grant Woven Mail. So it's just so much strand stuff going back and forth that you're going to have constant uptime on. In your kinetic slot, you're going to want a strand, ideally primary damage weapon that is going to have Pugilist. We want to be creating more melee energy from kills. And the two best options are either Mikkel's Reverence, which is a craftable weapon, or Breachlight if you have an old roll. These can come with Pugilist and Swashbuckler. These are the best two options available, and this is going to give you a primary weapon that's going to be doing all of the sever, all of the other strand effects, while also giving you a ton of melee energy from Pugilist and a bunch of weapon damage from Swashbuckler. You'll be going back and forth, having uptime on both of those perks. Those are your two best options. If you don't have those options, or you don't want to use a sidearm, you could also use Rufus's Fury, which is also craftable. You could run something like Pugilist and Chaos Reshaped or Hatchling, and that's going to be a good option. You can also use Bria's Love, which has Pugilist and Rapid Hit. A Scout Rifle option. Round Robin has Subsistence and Pugilist, and Kept Confidence has Pugilist and Stats for All. So those are some strand primary options, with the two first ones being the best. And also, you can run Monte Carlo, as this is going to be basically it has the same perks. It's going to give you melee damage, it's going to give you melee energy and weapon damage, but it's not strand, so you won't be applying sever and things like that. So still a great option. It's still going to be a great weapon to give you the energy and do the damage, but those are your primary options. The energy slot is all about a shotgun that's going to hit like a truck and give you crazy melee damage to go along with that. And the best option is a sudden death. This one you can get both 1-2 punch and trench barrel. It's going to buff both your melee and your shotgun damage. And since we're doing so much melee, shotgun, you're going to have insane damage output. And since it is a heavy hitting aggressive frame shotgun, it's going to do basically the most damage you can get in a single shot, and you're still going to be shooting as fast as you can. There are other great options like lightweights or rapid fire frames that can carry more ammo, but they're not going to do as much damage if you're doing shotgun melee. Some other options: Found Verdict, you can get Pugilist and 1-2 punch if you want additional energy and to continue to have that damage. Ikello Shotgun is another great option with 1-2 punch or trench barrel in the right column, and then Pugilist or Grave Robber in the left. And Prophet of Doom also comes with Pugilist 1-2 punch. Without Remorse is an old one that you could have something like Threat Detector in 1-2 punch. And I think all of those weapons, or most of them at least, are craftable, so you can definitely find a great option. Heavy weapon, I mostly use either a Tractor Cannon for damage debuff to go along with my close range, or an Eager Edge sword. You could also use a Strand sword if you want to build into that, or if you just want to put on Truth and do damage from far away, you can totally do that too. Armor set and armor mods. In my opinion, the best armor set for this build is the Coda armor set from the Prophecy Dungeon. And I would go for the 4-piece on this. If not, the 2-piece is going to be a great start. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow you to, whenever you get a kill with either light weapons or dark weapons, it's going to give you grenade or melee energy alongside of that. And if you get the 4-piece, it's just gonna do even more energy, so you're getting a lot more ability energy just from killing enemies with the weapons you're already gonna be using. It'll also give you even more damage resistance. And in the background, I'll show you exactly how you can start farming this on your own solo, and Prophecy is a very easy dungeon, and the first boss will give you the mark and the boots, and which is a great place to start. So as I'm soloing the first boss in Prophecy, let's talk about stats and the best armor mods. And I would go for at least 140, 150 melee. This is going to give you anything over 100 is not going to help you generate more, but it will give you extra damage in PvE. And then from there, I would shoot for 100 weapons, as you are going to be shotgun meleeing quite often. And you don't really need over that because we're never going to be running out of ammo in this build. So I would shoot for 150 melee, 100 weapons, and then if you want to go 100 super or health even, feel free to do that. For the mods on the helmet, we are running hands-on. This is going to give us a bunch of super energy on melee kills, and then special ammo finder, as we are going to be mostly using our shotgun. That'll help us just maintain our ammo. And then a Strand or harmonic siphon is going to help us get orbs for others and for ourselves, as we are using our primary weapon, getting kills. On the gloves or the gauntlets, heavy-handed, we're going to be generating orbs on powered melee final blows, which we're going to be doing all the time. Melee kickstart, I'm not using a font here since I am over 100 for regeneration. Melee kickstart is just going to help give you some use for armor charge and give you energy back. From there, impact induction, when you use your powered melee, it's going to give you more cooldown on your grapple. So you'll be kind of going back and forth with those abilities, keeping your abilities up. On the chest piece, charged up is just going to help carry more stacks of armor charge. And then you can use your preferred resistance. I put on sniper just because farther away enemies can be harder to get with this build. And then I do have a void ammo generation just on for my heavy, but you could also run more resistance or loosen blades if you do want to run a sword. On the boots, stacks on stacks is going to help us get more armor charge every time we pick up an orb for our melee kickstart. Elemental charge, every time that we use Strand tangles, we're going to be getting more armor charge as well. So since we're always throwing those around, we'll have a bunch of extra armor charge. And invigoration, reducing melee cooldown every time we pick up an orb. So just another way to keep our cooldown up. On the mark, time dilation will make our armor charge stick around longer in between fights. And distribution is just going to be a way to help with other abilities as well and cooling those down. Lastly, outreach, reducing melee cooldown when using your class ability. Gameplay loop is very simple. You grapple in, defeat an enemy with your melee, immediately pick up the tangle, throw it, use both your primary and your melee to continue building stacks of Banner of War. And then when it comes to boss damage, I initiate with a tractor cannon, I pop my super, I'll do 3 light attacks and 1 heavy attack back to back until it ends, hit him with another tractor cannon shot, and then go back and forth with your melee and shotgun. Even your uncharged melee, if you do run out of stacks, is going to do a ton of damage. So overall, you're basically invincible unless you're doing some insane solo high level content, and you're going to be generating a ton of orbs and getting up close and personal, and it's super fun. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll leave a dim link for this build and for the armor that I use if you like the way it looks. But feel free to let me know what you would change about this, and I'd love to see you guys in the next Destiny 2 build video. Thanks for stopping by. Peace.